I realize I normally do a more careful, thought-out video for a review, but quite frankly, I'm struggling to figure out what I really want to say about Vampire Legends: The Power of Three that really differentiates it from my last review for Witches and Vampires: The Secrets of Ashbury. Because Vampire Legends was originally released underneath the title Witches and Vampires: Ghost Pirates of Ashbury in Europe, but when it was released in North America, its name was changed for whatever reason, and this has led to a lot of confusion about if the game ever even saw a US release, which is probably one of the most interesting aspects about the game, to be honest. Because otherwise, it's not much different from the last game. If you liked the first game, then you'll like this one just fine. Yes, there are a few changes, but you can basically ignore them and still play the game like it was like the first game all over again. Story-wise, it doesn't really change much either. It still has all of the whole gotta get this magical MacGuffin thing going for it, so there's not much difference there. Instead of Aluna being the focus character, though, it's Daryl, and they try to make a stupid subplot about him wanting to use dark magic or learn dark magic in order to defeat the pirates. Yeah, I really don't get that. They basically are, it's like the game, I'm sorry, stumbling a bit there, but it's like the game's arguing that Pirate Captain is higher than Gorazal, or how you pronounce his name from the last game, saying that Pirate Captain who knows fire-based magic is scarier than Black Vampire Lord that commands army of demons. In terms of my threat assessment level, Pirate Captain does not go above the last villain. So why he became the final boss is beyond me, because he's just not as interesting or intimidating. Nor does it make sense why Daryl would feel all that push to learn black magic anyway, considering he was able to defeat the most powerful black vampire in existence with the help of his sisters in the last game. So I really don't get it. I guess they wanted to get away from the whole Aluna doesn't want to learn to use magic or use it plot device from the first game, which never felt fully realized, and then went with a new subplot that feels even less realized and a betrayal of the characterization we got in the first game, what little there was. Another issue I have with the story, at least a little bit, is it seems to contradict certain plot points that were made in the first game. The first game seemed to suggest the Wreckers were entirely a myth and didn't actually exist, while in this game we're told they're real, and they were banished by the ancestors of the group of heroes we're following. So I don't get that change either. I have to wonder if the people that are working on the first game were talking with some of the people working on the second game. Considering how close they're released, they're probably both being worked on at the same time, and there may have been some issues with the storyboards or something going on there. Another element that pops up that shows this is that, well, it's revealed to us that Valtheria, the mother of Aluna and Ruby, and stepmom to Daryl, is a championship broom racer. Yet in the first game, if you recall, Daryl and Aluna both make fun of Ruby for believing that flying brooms exist. Yet their mother is a champion broom racer. Obviously these brooms can fly, and they should know better. Especially if their mother is a championship flying broom racer, because she has to probably own one of these flying broomsticks in her own home. Somewhere. So they shouldn't have been so surprised that flying brooms exist in the first game. Outside of that stuff, though, it's not really any different. You gotta go find magical MacGuffins in order to save the world again. So, yeah. Not much different from the last game. Same level of complaints, really. Gameplay-wise, like I said, things really haven't changed that much at all. There are a few new systems and spells, and most of the new systems are a result of some of these new spells. Like, there's a pet spell, but to get the pets you have to do subquests, and these pets are all elementally aligned, so you have a fire, water, wind, and earth, I believe. Or maybe it's ice, but whatever, it's the 4 basic elements, okay? No, I show them 3 fingers. I'm not getting up right. 4. Okay, 4. 4 elements. Each of these pets has different spells and abilities, but to learn them you have to use the pet in combat and then level it up in the basement, which means it becomes a not a complicated process, but a lengthy process to really level them up to make them useful. So I basically avoided the pet system altogether outside of unlocking the pets, because I could use the experience to level up, obviously, and the skill points to develop the spells I wanted to actually use. So there's not much use out of the pet system. If you like the pet system, good on you. If you don't care for it, it doesn't really matter because you don't need to use it. Another new system that's introduced much later on is Daryl has a new counter-attack ability, which requires some use of the touchscreen. I didn't care for it. I never really developed it outside the first time I was forced to do so, so I never really used that ability at all. Aluna has one new ability that's probably the most useful one, the one you'll actually spend some time developing, which is Concentrate, which basically allows you to double her attack power, and she can also still get an increase from ultimate power and still get an increase from Ruby when she does magic up. So basically you can power up Aluna twice and basically give her like almost triple her normal attack power, which makes boss fights super easy. You can almost say the game's broken in that sense, because you can easily overwhelm all the bosses, even the last one, a few hits if you do this. It takes a bit longer to do the setup, obviously, as you gotta cast 2 spells, but after that, just a couple hits, game over. Outside of the spells for the new abilities, there are some other spells, but again, you don't really need to learn them. I mean, you can still get by with just heal and group heal and silence on Ruby and magic up, obviously. You don't really need defense up, because it's much easier to get much faster than your enemies in this game, so you'll probably be doing all the first attacks. So if you power up your magic attack and have Ruby with healing spells and the magic boost, you can boost Aluna, and then you can just drop lightning bounce right off the start of a fight and just kill everything almost instantly every time. Aluna is basically only going to learn fire, poison, lightning bounce, and ultimate power. Anything else is basically on you. You really don't need anything else, much like the last game. Daryl is basically stuck with the same level abilities too. I mean, you're going to level up his basic attack spell. You might level up combo. You don't really need it though. And you're definitely going to want to learn stun and group stun, because they are still very useful. Albeit they don't seem to affect the final boss. At least I never got silent stun or stun the stick on him. Though that's probably an improvement, because at least means the final boss battle isn't as easy as it was in the last game when you could do that to Gorazal, possibly at the start of the very battle. So I guess there's a slight improvement, combat-wise, at least in the final boss battle. But all the regular bosses, all the bosses before that, yeah, you can still hit them with that stuff. So you're going to want to. Graphically speaking, the game really hasn't changed much either. The characters have some updated looks, whatever you want to call it. But they haven't really improved in terms of like overall quality, so it's basically at the same level of presentation as the last game. And there really aren't any major new soundtracks. In fact, I don't think there's really any new tracks at all. These games were developed side by side, so they basically share the same soundtrack. Not a surprise though. Overall, I guess, if you want a conclusion, if you liked the first game, like I said, you'll like this one just fine. If you didn't like the first game, you're not gonna like this one any better. And if you I don't know what to say. I guess my point is, if you like the first game, you should play this one. If you didn't like it, don't. And this is definitely not a game that's going to get you any more interested in this series, because it's just like the first one in almost every respect, outside of the slight changes they made. So, my overall recommendation is, I guess, play it if you want to, but if you already played the first one and you didn't like it, stay away. And I realize I'm repeating myself now, but I don't really have much of a conclusion to say, other than I really don't care for this game too much, but I guess it wasn't as horrible as I thought it was going to be. Well, that's all I have to say about this game. See ya.